6:01. Let's get started. Well, welcome everybody. We're so happy to have you here. A really good turnout. A lot of people signed up. I think we had almost 100 people sign up, so we're very excited to share this budget with you. And as we kick off, we're going to invite Davey to look at a narrative budget, which is something we haven't done in a couple of years. And so for those of you who don't get completely excited with pages of numbers, this part is for you. Let me share the screen. Okay. Davey, it's all yours.
Well, thank you, and thanks for your time. Well, friends, as we've done in past years, but not for the last few, we are rolling out a narrative budget. We're going to put this online, and it's going to have a video component too. Some of you actually may have already sent in videos. A few folks from around the diocese we asked to make videos about what's going on and what they're doing. And so those will feature when we put this up for everyone, and that'll be up for convention. But we wanted to share with you, because we were asked by Executive Council to resurrect the narrative budget. Our narrative budget is constructed around the 5 areas of the beloved community: embodied justice, transparent leadership, inclusive community, church vitality, and rooted spirituality. And what a narrative budget does is it spreads the fixed costs like salaries and maintenance and insurance, and then it puts it into these various program areas, spreads it out over all of them, and then we can describe what each program area costs the diocesan budget in terms of some specialized staffing and the program and related costs that go into it. This very simplified narrative budget is to show you how the expenses come in, and you can see there that it's no surprise. 75% of our budget comes from assessments, and our endowment, which is bigger than it's been in a long time, thanks to the market and thanks to some infusions into our endowment. That's contributing 13% to our budget. Expanding Horizons is putting some money into the operating budget, specifically around the canon for racial, social, and environmental justice. And this is a blessing that we raised so much money in the diocesan capital campaign, and it's able to help us with some operating costs around some very specific roles in our budget. And then, of course, fees, interest, the money that we make off of planned giving, and from being able to support that ministry, it brings in some administrative fees for the diocese, and that's almost 10% of our expenses. So that's the good news. I also wanted to share with you how we divide out our work in terms of embodied justice. You can see the percentages there for yourself. I don't need to read them off. Transparent leadership, our largest line item, because that really encompasses so much of the work we do in terms of vocations and transitions and the overall leadership from the diocese, our governance bodies, and making certain that they have the resources that they need. Church vitality, this is coming in with the Vital and Thriving program that's being run across many congregations right now, and the staff and program that support that. A little bit of the stewardship budget is accounted for in church vitality as well. And so we look at, how we make sustainable congregations, how we help you to grow and be the best that you are in your communities so that you can do the work of seeking and serving your neighbor. Rooted spirituality, that work that we do mostly in formation, but in other places where we really look at how we are as people in the community, how we are as people of God, communicating that justice, that love, and how we form ourselves to be children of God. Of course, our inclusive community, we're even increasing that ministry as we have called a canon specifically to look at issues of diversity across our diocese and join in the longstanding commitment that this diocese has towards inclusive community. What we hope that this gives you is a snapshot into how our money comes in and how our money is spent and how it moves through the diocese into the congregations, into your congregation and ministry area, so that you feel supported and you see how that relationship between how the money comes in and how it goes out. There's going to be a lot more in this narrative budget when the stories, the narratives come in with the videos that are going to tell those beautiful stories. And you can expect those around convention. They'll be up on the website. I know that we have a lot more line item budgets to look at, but as you do that, as Michelle guides us through looking at the numbers, think again about this document and how all of the work of the diocese feeds into the beloved community and finding who we are and how we are in our communities of faith. Michelle, I'm going to hand it back over to you, and we're going to have time to talk about this or answer and ask questions at the end of the whole presentation. So save up your questions for that. Thanks, Michelle.
Thank you, Davey. And so here we have the draft budget for 2025. I have to tell you, I am the most excited about this budget that I've ever been about a budget so far in my just lifetime. I mean, this is just so beautiful. We have just overall the COLA, the cost of living increase is 3.2%. And so that affects various line items on the budget. It affects salaries, and so this will be the recommended salary increase for within your congregation. So that'll be part of our presentation, part of the convention booklet. And so that was one of the increases in this budget. And as we look at items such as medical benefits, we have estimated, because those numbers aren't out yet, so we've estimated that the medical costs will go up about 10%. So what's happened is that during COVID, the cost of medical care didn't increase, or it increased very, very inconsequentially because people weren't going to the doctor, right? So they will only go if they got COVID. And so as we've come out of COVID, people are starting to go back to get their preventative care done. For some, because they didn't get preventative care, they've gotten diagnoses. And so the costs of medical care is starting to go up. And so we're estimating a 10% increase. That looks historically reasonable. We've estimated an increase of 5% for dental. So if it doesn't come in that high, then fortunately we'll have allowed for it and we'll have some extra money. So the first part of this presentation has to do with our sources of funds for ministry. So remember that when we look at a budget as our diocese, as the beloved community, as the people of God, what we're doing is we're saying, okay, this is our mission. And then the budget, the mission drives our budget. So we're able to take these gifts that we've received within God's providence from congregations, from our endowments, and then we're able to say, what is our ministry? What are our priorities? And let's put this on paper so that we can use that ethos to drive and fund our work. I'm very happy this year to say that the assessments have gone up. And so this is the first time in several years that we've seen this phenomenon. They were a little stagnant during COVID. They've started to eke up. And this year, we can see that there was a pretty significant increase overall. Now, with every year, there's going to be some congregations whose pledge and plate, their net operating income line will go down a little bit. Others will go up. But overall, we can see that this number has increased. The $45,000 reserve is the amount of money we set aside for assessment relief. So when a congregation finds that they are unable to pay their entire assessment, then they can apply for some relief, and that's what this $45,000 is there for. The other good news in this budget is that our endowment income has gone up. Now, it has gone up for a couple reasons. One, it's gone up because the market was favorable, and so that was very helpful. But the other main reason is because we were able to invest money from the sale of church property and put it in a fund functioning as an endowment, and we were able to get the income from that to use for our ministries, to fund our ministries. So that's why that number went up. The other thing is that we had some funding within our budget here so that we were able to reduce the amount that we are taking from expanding horizons. So as you recall, from last year, we were very excited to hire a candidate for racial, social, and environmental justice. And that position was going to be funded largely, if not completely, from Expanding Horizons funds. But because we know that we have 3 years to come up with money through our operating budget to cover that position, because that's an important position within our ministry, we need to reduce the amount that we are drawing from Expanding Horizons. So this budget reflects a partial decrease in that. Our hope is that over the next 2 years, it will be completely funded from operations. The other thing that's happened is, of course, we don't have this line item for a bishop overlap. So last year we had our diocesan bishop and bishop coadjutor, so Bishop Mark and Bishop Austin, were being paid at the same time, right? So, and that wasn't within our normal operating budget. So we had money that we were able to get from our Expanding Horizons fundraising, and we were able to fund, at least in part of that overlap. So this next year in 2025, that is no longer necessary. The bishop's discretionary, the Christie Fund, is a fund that is in the bishop's discretion. It is a discretionary fund, and traditionally $125,000 of those earnings has been used for operations, and so that has continued. And then we have some endowment payroll and benefits fees. Those have gone up just a little bit. And the other nice increase is interest income. So in the past, the interest rates were very low, but in this last year, we were able to realize increased revenues on our earnings on our cash investments. And so what we did was we locked in some CDs and some treasury bills, and we're able to get about $40,000 of interest income to put into our budget. So the amount of funds that are available for our ministries has gone up. So how shall we use these then for ministry? So the first category is the episcopate ministry. So that is the ecclesiastical term for the work of the bishop on this budget. So we've got salary and benefits, which is basically increased by COLA. You can see that we've got 0 here. That was the overlap, so we didn't need that this year. Here's one line item that's gone up, and that's the archdeacon ministry. So the archdeacon ministry hasn't been super active in the last few years. The people who are working in that are very busy, and they're doing really good work, but we want to expand that. They are called to expand that work, and so we have put some funding behind that so that they can continue that valuable ministry. School for deacons has remained flat. Commission on Ministry, that is the committee, the group that helps people discern their call. And that call does not necessarily mean ordained ministry. For many people, it is a lay ministry. Executive Council has gone down. The Executive Council did a really wonderful job of decreasing the expenses for their retreats. And so we were able to realize some cost savings there. Clergy Conference has remained flat, and it has the standing committee and some other smaller ones. This section right here starting with the accruals for future ministries and events. So what these numbers do right here is we put these on the budget, and then we put them aside and save them for a future expense. So the Bishop Election Fund, we had accrued in the past about $10,000 a year. We just called a new bishop, and we realized how very expensive it is to call a new bishop. So we have increased that amount going forward. General Convention, we have increased this. That is something that happens every 3 years. We've bumped this up a little bit. It hadn't been bumped up in a while. Costs have gone up, and so the budget needed to reflect that as well. And travel to Lambeth. So Lambeth is a conference of bishops throughout the Anglican Communion. And every 10 years, bishops and their spouses meet and commune and pray and work together. And so that had traditionally been budgeted at about $2,000 a year. And so we're going to bump that up so that we'll be at $3,000 a year. Bishops travel and entertainment. We have bumped this up a little bit from the past years. And that's because this is something that, this is a way that the bishop can meet the congregations and arrange events and little gatherings. And so we needed to bump that up a little bit to further enhance the community between the bishop and the diocese. The travel to the House of Bishops. So this is a meeting that's twice a year. And the location varies. So we've put in about $5,500. That is something that will be spent this year. Diocesan events and hospitality. So this has to do with just events that are being planned within the diocese so that we can get our congregations, our members together to celebrate the good work that we do. And so that has taken a little bit of a bump there. New this year, strategic visioning consultant. So Bishop Rios has contracted with a strategic consultant who is doing listening sessions. I'm sure you've heard about them. Many of you have already participated. So a valuable tool using to think about what does our ministry look like in the future? What are we doing well? What are our growing edges? What is God calling us to do in our community and beyond? So this is the fee to for the facilitator to gather this information, and a plan will be presented to in a future convention. The Episcopal residence. So we do own a home for the bishop and his or her family to live in. We put some money into refurbishing that home. There hadn't been anything major done in a number of years. And so it's just sparkly new and beautiful, but we've still budgeted $35,000 just in case something is needed in the next year. But keep in mind that unlike other line items on this budget, what is not spent at the end of the year, if we don't spend the whole $35,000, we'll kind of put that away in another account and save it for a time when it's needed. Then we get to congregational ministry. So this is the ministry that involves the canon to the ordinary. It has to do with the missions and a whole lot of other things. And so we can see that in this working group here, the main change is the mission support. We looked at this, and Bishop Rios is very committed to making sure that the marginalized, that those who are less well-resourced, that our mission congregations are shored up. The amount that we had been spending in prior years had remained flat. And so this year we're bumping that up to help those congregations. Program support has remained the same. And we have a little travel budget here. That is for conferences. Okay, so we hired a canon for racial, social, and environmental justice. a really, really important position in our diocese, and one that people really, really wanted. And so this is the result. So we've got this canon, we've got some program support for the canon, and we've got some conferences to travel to. And then we put the Multicultural Commissions Ministries and Justice, Peace, and Integrity of Creation Ministries in this working group because it's all related. The line items for these groups has remained the same. Lifelong faith formation has to do with, this is the one where we've got the Vital and Thriving. It also has to do with our youth work. And I wanted to say that, the youth, the money that we spend on youth is also pretty high. It's one of our higher amounts. So this year it's just north of $312,000. So while many other line items on this budget also assist youth and augment that ministry, the ones that are directly involved with youth total the $312,000, a little bit north of that. Camps and campus ministry. So we do support, we have some campus chaplains, and so we help support them. There's a camp ministry that we support, and the St. Dorothy Rest Camp support. This is actually for children who have had organ transplants. And so this is scholarships for their camp at St. Dorothy's Rest. Communications ministry, the big change in this one is we're trying to shore up our translation. So we've got some new equipment so that it's easier for people to hear the translation. We're trying to get away from kind of any kind of interference, any scratching. And so we've got some new equipment budgeted and some new people. So that's an area that is being expanded and is really, really needed. And then, of course, the cost of the communications line item, that's like the newsletters and all of those things, got a slight bump. Support to the wider church. So this first line item to the Episcopal Church, just as we have congregations that pledge to us who help support our work in our diocese, we pledge to the Episcopal Church for our work in the greater church. And so this year it's a formula-driven number. And so this year it's at about $570,000. Last year in the budget, it was $610,000. That was an estimate. As you can see by looking at half the year, it's going to be a little less than that. This year, this number right here is an actual number. Okay. And then we also pledge to the province. So and that pledge remains the same. And giving and stewardship ministries. So this is the working group that goes and helps congregations with their stewardship, provides all kinds of support and help in that realm. Also does the fundraising for special programs for congregations, etc. You can see that we've bumped up the budget for donor events, and that's because in the wake of COVID and in the years that preceded that, those events kind of were non-existent, and so this is something that we will bring back. And so this is a huge benefit to our congregations, getting together, cultivating these the donors and helping congregations with their donors. So this is very much helping the congregations, and then a couple of conferences. So the finance ministry, as you know, covers the internal audits, the payroll processing, benefits processing, all of the accounts payable, assessment relief, the financial statements, etc. So the increases this year, we've got a slight bump for the audit and a slight bump for payroll fees. So the reason this is higher, as we're processing payroll this last year, we were able to give each congregation more control over their own payroll. And so we still process payroll, um, and um, and we are very much involved in helping congregations with their input. And one of the benefits to congregations is that you can pull your own reports. On April 14th, when your employees come to you and say, "Oh my gosh, I can't find my W-2," you can go and they can also print their own forms. And so Sarah's email inbox doesn't have 3,000 emails for, can you send me my W-2 form? So when we did that, the fees went up. And this is a heavily subsidized program. This is something that our diocese is, for the most part, even though there is a fee per check that's issued, it's heavily subsidized because we did not want to pass on those expenses to our congregations. There's some continuing ed in there. This is actually a line item that helps keep my license alive. I'm a CPA in California, so I have like 40 hours a year of continuing ed that I'm required to do to keep my license active. A little bit of travel, and that's with 3 employees. And then administrative ministry. The medical premiums for retired lay and clergy. This is a program that has benefited retired people and some lay people. So, for example, widows and widowers. This program sunsetted, and so every year this amount goes down a little bit as people meet their maker, and so eventually this will be zero. But now we've got a few $1,000s of savings there. Dial house maintenance, it's bumped up a little bit. Chancellor's retainer and other legal. So our chancellor is not getting this whole amount. But what does happen is that sometimes a congregation will get in a scrape with like a bad rental agreement, or and this is mostly our mission congregations or some other legal issues, and we end up paying for these congregations as a diocese. So it's just a reminder, at least in part, that before you enter into a rental agreement in your congregation, please have that reviewed. You can send it to me, and then we'll have it reviewed. That's a huge benefit for you. So that will help protect your congregation in the future. IT support and software. We've undergone, or in the process of undergoing, a huge security improvement. So this got bumped up a little bit. The property liability insurance, I don't need to explain that. You guys all have property and liability in your congregations. Outside services is flat. Hearst Avenue in Berkeley. So this is a residence that is now occupied by a priest. And so we will have a lot of savings in property taxes, but we budgeted some money because it's an old house. And as you know, when you have an old house, it's not easy. Yeah, the repairs are not easy. And this last year, a furnace went out. And so in like a house that's not 100 years old, you go in, you take the old one out, you put the new one in, and it's relatively easy. But in this particular house, they had to take the boards that protected the undercroft of the house. They had to pull out vegetation, and it was a deal. So we have budgeted $10,000. If we don't use this, then this is returned to our operating coffers. Brentwood, because it is not used as a church, we do have to pay property taxes on that. So we've got a budget of $18,000. We've got a little bit of office supplies. We actually bumped that down a little bit because we weren't spending as much. But as people are working in the office more, some of these numbers will go up. And that would be the same as utilities. Utilities number has remained flat on the budget. Even though it doesn't look like we're going to spend the whole amount that was budgeted last year, we have more people in the office this year, and so those costs are expected to go up. So at the end of the day here, we are looking at a slight overage, a little bit of sources of funds exceeding the funds that are used for ministry. So that is the budget in a nutshell. And I'm going to need someone to help me with the questions because I cannot see them.
Okay, Michelle, this is Davey. We have a question from the Reverend Chris Rankin Williams. Which staff positions are in each category? I think he's talking
So,
about the groups.
yeah. So the episcopacy, obviously the bishop, the bishop's assistant. There's a part of a person for let me see, the vocations piece. So I think there's fractions of people. So this is maybe 2.5 or 3 people. Congregational ministry is the canon to the ordinary. It's our person who does the assistant or the associate chancellor, and half of a couple other people's salaries. Racial, social, and environmental justice is 1 person. Lifelong faith formation, 2. Communications, 2. Planned giving, 1.5. And finance is 1, 2.5, 3.25. So total is about 15 if I round everything. Next question.
The next question is from Nicholas Roosevelt. He asks, what were the actuals through June for the crossover line item on the expense side?
What crossover line item? I don't understand the question. I'm sorry.
Nicholas,
These are the actuals right here. These are the actuals in through June right here in the middle.
Nicholas, do you want to type in more detail for your question? He's talking about the overlap.
The overlap for the bishops.
There you go.
Okay, so the coadjutor is oh, he didn't get put in there. Hold on 1 second. It's $112,000.
Great.
I think that got absorbed in another line item. Okay.
Thank you.
Uh-huh.
Deb, your question was answered. Michelle did make her screen bigger. Thank you.
Oh, sorry. It was your eye test. You
I
get
know,
good eye
right?
benefits with your insurance, so
There
that was
we
your
go.
test.
The Reverend Eric Hines asks, can you explain why our DioCal commitment to tech is around 12% of the budget, while parishes are asked for a commitment approaching 17%?
Well, first of all, let's be clear. The assessment is basically, for the most part, close to 100,000. It's 90-something thousand at 5%. So, and amounts over that are assessed at 17%. Nobody pays 17%. It's much lower than that. That's just on the margin. And the tech assessment is something that's voted on by General Convention.
Great. Thank you.
Mhm.
And then Stephanie Green asks, the Reverend Stephanie Green asks, how are the numbers for Afro-American, Asian, Latino, and Indigenous ministries determined? Why have they been flat for several years? Why is there no increase this year? Will support for these ministries be a feature of the strategic visioning process?
Yes, they will most definitely be part of the strategic visioning process. The reason that they haven't gone up is because they haven't been fully utilized, but we now have a canon for racial, social, and environmental justice, and I'm sure that we're going to see a lot of changes in this working group.
Yeah, that's exciting for all of us.
Mhm.
And Ron Hermanson asks, the school for deacons has been flat for a number of years. How is this number built, and is there room for visioning next time?
Well, I think that with the visioning process, everything is on the table, right? I think that's part of the visioning. And so as needs are understood, then again, our budgets are driven by mission. So first we have to determine the mission, and that's what drives the budget. So absolutely, I'm looking forward to this whole visioning process.
Yep. And as you say, everything's on the table.
Hmm.
Kathleen asked in the chat, Kathleen Perino, asked, why are the ethnic ministries funded at different levels?
So this is a longstanding thing. They um, generally submit what they believe they need for the year. And again, this is an area that Eric will be addressing, our canon for racial, social, and environmental justice. So I would suspect that this is the last year you're going to see numbers like this. I'm expecting everything to change next year.
Hooray. The Reverend Stacy Grossman asks, I'm assuming we'll get actual results for 2023 before diocesan convention. We had the 6-month 2023 actuals last year. Stacy, I think
No,
you
oh,
24.
sorry.
I'm guessing you meant 2024.
So
So, yeah,
the um, the the numbers that are presented in the convention booklet are through the end of September. So obviously we can't present them now, and we scramble at the beginning of October to get good numbers for September. So those will be posted as soon as we have them.
great. Okay. The Reverend Stephanie Green asks, how are campus ministries funded differently from other missions? Please explain the levels and sources of funding for the ministries, like diocesan stipends, fundraising, stewardship, etc.
So all of these uses of funds used for ministry are funded from this section right here. So they're funded from a combination of assessments, endowments, amounts that were raised through Expanding Horizons, the bishop's discretionary fund, and fees. Oh, and interest this year, ta-da.
And Stephanie, some of the campus ministries do their own fundraising. Some of them have some endowment. Some of them get funding, like Eckhouse at San Francisco State shares its ministry with the Presbyterians, the Methodists, the UCC. So each of those campus ministries has a slightly different funding scheme.
Yeah, thanks for that clarification. Because
Yep,
this obviously is not 100% of what it costs to do the campus ministries. This is our contribution to it, to them.
great. And there's been conversation from Stacy and Chris about, I think what they were asking for are the audited 2023 results, not 2024.
Oh, okay. The audit has just been completed. The audit committee will meet, review them, and then it will go to executive council. As soon as they see it, then it will be posted on the website. Earlier than before. Ta-da. Yeah. So
Yeah,
our new auditor was really good. We wanted them earlier this year, so we should have them soon.
great. Definitely before the convention.
Oh yeah.
All right. I'm not seeing any other questions. We'll wait a couple minutes, see if other ones come in. The Reverend Hannah Cornthwaite asks, is there a reason why staff positions are not itemized?
They are itemized according to their working group. So what we're endeavoring to do is show a working group and how much does it cost to have that piece of our ministry. So within the, like, for example, racial, social, and environmental justice, this is what it costs this in 2025 to do this ministry.
Great. Thank you. An anonymous attendee asks, has money been set aside for a CTO residence?
No, not a residence. There has been a possible uh, executive council agreed to set aside an amount not to exceed $500,000 to loan to the CTO, and that is to be repaid with interest at 5%, which is what our return on investment is right now. So we would basically be using money that would be a revenue neutral line item for us, and it would, of course, benefit someone who's moving from outside of the area to possibly use for a home. Now, that doesn't mean the money's going to be used. It's just set aside in case.
Thank you. There's a question, what is a CTO? That means canon to the ordinary. Debbie Lowe Skinner was the most recent canon to the ordinary. And as you just probably saw the press release from Bishop Austin, the Reverend Sierra Reyes has been called to be canon to the ordinary. She starts on September 1.
And ordinary refers to the bishop. And so
Right.
this was a canon to the ordinary, who is bishop in our diocese is Bishop Rios. And so this is a person that aids him in our ministry in our diocese.
Great. Thank you. Nicholas Roosevelt asks, what is the projected COLA for personnel? Is it 3.2?
It's 3.2%. So that number will carry forward in the clergy minimums for salaries, and it's the number that will be recommended in the convention booklet for salary increases for our lay and clergy employees throughout the diocese.
Thank you. Rod Hall asks if there's an Excel version. Ellie posted it in the chat. There's a link to the budget. It's already online. So the budget that Michelle just showed you and the narrative budget as it stands at the moment are both online, and you can follow that link. Oh, she just posted it again. Great. Our anonymous attendee has asked where the $500,000 for the CTO loan is coming from.
That will come from, it can come from a combination of places if it's needed. So part of that may come from expanding horizons, the housing line. Part of it may come from investments that have matured that haven't been reinvested.
Great. Mike Scruton would like to know if you can repeat the formula for calculating assessments.
Yes, I can. Let me look it up so I don't muck it up. Okay. So it is it's 5% on the first 95,300. It cannot, the assessment from one year to the next cannot exceed $25,501 or 50% of the prior year.
All right, fantastic. Rod is asking about the budget. You're right, it is a PDF, not an Excel.
Yeah, we put PDFs on, we don't post Excel.
Yep. Peter Fairfield would like to know, Michelle, tell us all about parish audits.
Oh, yeah, thank you. Thank you. I'm so excited about this. So we are ready to launch our, I know it's a weird person to get excited about something like this, but this is really exciting. So we're getting ready to launch our internal reviews, financial reviews for congregations. The link will go live shortly. We've had some brave souls who were our beta testers, and they were very happy with the program. And the way it works is there is a link, you click on it, and you have 30 days to keep active with it. You upload everything that is needed. So your financials, your vestry minutes, or your bishop committee minutes. There's a slew of things. You answer questions, you hit send. And we have an auditor who works remotely who will review this ask you any questions. It will, and what we're really trying to do here, in addition to satisfying the canonical need for this, is we are trying to tone down the stress level of the audits. So what we're doing is we don't want to have someone come, sit on the bridge, do mileage, cost a lot of money, go freak out your admin people, and now they're going to be asked for something and they don't know if they have it right away. Everything is online. You can do it at your own pace. You can ask a friend, you can phone a friend, you just get it together. We're trying to make this just like a mutual team type of thing. So that is being uploaded shortly. I think it's going to be really good. The congregations that tried it were very happy with it. We also want to bring the costs down. So I have a goal of just a minimal cost, a minimal fee for this. And if you're a mission congregation, then we will subsidize that fee. We're behind, I know. So what we're going to do is we're going to say, in the beginning, we won't require that everything's done by September 1st, obviously. That would be an impossibility. But please, we'll ask you to get your most recent year together. So that would be 2023. Let's get everybody's 2023. Then we'll continue to move forward. If you want an audit for a prior year, and remember, this isn't like audited financial statements. This isn't a public audit. This is our review. If you want that reviewed, then just let us know and we'll fit it in as we can. But the priority is 2023. And then next year, our priority will be 2024. And then hopefully we'll be up to speed and all caught up. But I'm super excited about this. I think that this is such a benefit to our congregations, and the Episcopal Church has shown a lot of interest in this. And so it's just one more way that we, as our diocese, can contribute to the greater good of our church.
Thanks, Michelle.
Was that excited enough?
Michelle, you need to get out more often.
I know. Well, I am so excited about this. Okay, I'm done now.
There's been a conversation in the chat about if folks have questions after tonight, where can they go? And Michelle, we've put your email address in.
Okay.
So as always, if you have a question about the budget, you can email Michelle, our CFO, who will be happy to answer and let you know what's going on. Our anonymous attendee, I think we're talking about the assessment formula again. Can the increase in assessment not exceed the dollar amount or 50%, or both, whichever is higher or lower?
Yeah, so it can't exceed an increase of 25,000 and it can't exceed an increase of 50%.
There you
So yeah,
go.
both of those factors go into keeping it at a level of change that is amenable to congregations, that's not scary on their budget.
And is it posted somewhere, the formula, Michelle?
It will be. It absolutely will be. It goes in the convention booklet. So yeah, absolutely.
Great. So check out your convention booklet when it is put up online. Okay, we're cleared again, unless other folks have some questions.
I see a raised hand.
Oh,
Just type it in the Q&A.
I didn't know we could raise hands. Oh, Anna said it was a pilot error.
Oh, well, they'll never ignore you, Anna.
Right. Are there any more questions for Michelle or any of us about how we put this budget together and what it represents? We're hoping that you can take this along with the PDF to your deanery meetings, which are starting in a couple of weeks. And you'll all have all of this knowledge. This is being recorded as well. And so a link will be sent out to you and great information for your September deanery meetings so that everyone coming to convention will know what they're looking at.
It's also posted on the website and it's translated into Spanish.
Hooray. Michelle, I think the trickle has stopped. I think we've
Okay.
done
Well,
with
this has been awesome. Thank you all for coming. I'm looking forward to convention. Let me know if you have questions. I have to tell you, I'm so excited about this budget. This is just it's just wonderful to see the changes, and I'm very happy about this. And so are the committees that helped put this together. Okay. Well,
Bueno,
Godspeed.
gracias.
Thank you so much for joining us, and
Bendiciones
we
a
look
todos.
forward
Gracias
to
por
seeing you at
por
convention.
haber estado con nosotros y nos vemos en la
Good night,
convención
friends. See you later.
diocesana.
Buenas noches, gracias.